Wiggity wiggity, what's up guys? Welcome on back to Red Reviews. It's me again, Vincent Rojas, and today I'm reviewing Napoleon, which is directed by Ridley Scott and stars Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby. This movie is also written by David Scarpa, who has previously worked with Ridley Scott on All the Money in the World, and will be writing Scott's Gladiator 2 out next year. Joaquin Phoenix, of course, collaborated with Scott on the original Gladiator back in 2000. Now, I saw this film on opening night, but I haven't had the time to review it until now, so sorry for the late review, and thank you for being patient with me. This movie details Napoleon's rise and fall from power in France. So, getting into the review proper, the first thing I noticed was the pacing of the film. The movie jumps around so many different times and locations that it was a bit jarring and disorienting. This is especially noticeable since the movie has text at the bottom of the screen every time it jumps to a new place in time. And there are just so many instances of this text appearing that it's almost impossible not to notice it. It just felt very rushed, especially the opening. Scott apparently has a 4-hour cut of this movie on Apple TV Plus, which could flesh out the film more and give it more time to breathe. But as it stands, the theatrical cut just felt very quick to do everything, when a little more time to give depth to the characters could have been appreciated. This film covers pretty much all of Napoleon's life, except for his childhood, and that's a lot of ground to cover. I mean, Napoleon is a very accomplished individual. This leaves a lot of the movie feeling very dull and lifeless. There's also the fact that new characters are still being introduced 2 hours into the movie, so I just think that the pacing overall could be worked on quite a bit. Again, the 4-hour cut is probably the best way to view this film since that would give it a lot more time to breathe. Moving on, the performances are of course really good. Joaquin Phoenix continues to prove he's one of the best actors working today with his performance in this film. One thing I really liked about his character is that it's clear he enjoys dominating the area around him, both politically and militarily, but also he enjoys dominating his relationship with the Empress Josephine, played brilliantly by Vanessa Kirby. I was not expecting such a great performance from her, but she's like the heart of the whole film. I know her mainly as the White Widow from the Mission Impossible films, and also as Hattie Shaw from Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, which are not movies particularly known for their great acting, but her performance really shines in this film, which I was surprised by and I really appreciated. About half of the movie is dedicated to Napoleon's relationship with Josephine, which I definitely did not expect going in. This also services the parallels between his domination of politics and the battlefield and his domination of his relationship. However, these scenes don't really work for me. I get that that's where the film wants my mind to go, that Napoleon wants to dominate all aspects of his life. But the issue, again, lies in the pacing. The relationship scenes are not fused with the other half of the film cohesively enough for me to enjoy the relationship scenes. Every time there was one, I felt the film was dragging me out of a potentially chilling interaction between Napoleon and maybe a political leader to show me Napoleon being a buffoon around Josephine. There definitely is a disconnect between film and audience present. I like Phoenix's performance, but it's not integrated well into the film. Napoleon is very childish and immature when he's around Josephine, which is where Phoenix's acting chops shine. He doesn't truly know how to love someone, which is interesting to see play out. Some scenes with Phoenix were slightly over the top and bordering on cartoonish, but it thankfully never crossed the line for me. It was just that the scenes with Josephine are dull and lifeless, and I want to see something cool. Show me more genius Napoleon and less idiot Napoleon. The dull scenes almost feel like a history lesson. I'm here to see awesome action set pieces, and those are the best parts of the film. To me, the movie was just wasting my time by showing me bumbling Napoleon when it could be showing me chilling Napoleon. Now to the meat of the film. Ridley Scott is a director whom I would call a visionary, like James Cameron, like Christopher Nolan. The man is 86 and he keeps making movies. You've got to respect that. The war scenes in this movie are akin to the opening of Gladiator. I would not be surprised if people online compared the two films in terms of how the action is handled. And I'm not saying Napoleon is as good as Gladiator, because it definitely is not in my opinion. But some of the war scenes in this movie reminded me of the brilliant opening of Gladiator, which is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see Ridley Scott aptly demonstrate the tactical genius of a man who is an expert in warfare. And I feel that the film succeeds in this regard. This is by far the best part of the movie. The action is shot and helmed brilliantly, and the production value really comes through in these scenes. All of the costumes and props are incredibly well recreated, and it is something that I feel the film deserves praise for. The battle scenes are clearly shot on location, no green screen. Some overhead shots of battlefields are downright gorgeous when you can see hundreds of extras putting their all into fighting. I saw this movie in IMAX, and the sound from the battlefield, like all of the guns and the cannons, and that almost like jerked me awake. Not that I was falling asleep, but my mind was numbing to the movie, and these sounds woke me up, and it works really well. Also, this film is really bloody. When people say, oh, this movie's bloody and violent, I usually don't see it. Like, yeah, John Wick's a bloody, violent movie, but it never, like, affects me or sticks in my mind. Some of the bloody shots in this movie absolutely stuck in my mind. People getting shot, horses getting shot, it's all surprisingly gory. I knew that this film was going to be bloody, but not to the extent that it is, and it was a pleasure to watch. The historical accuracy of Napoleon is something that I can definitely see some people getting hung up about. For instance, Napoleon did not shoot the pyramids in Egypt. That is something that I knew was wrong when I saw that in the trailer. But to me, it just doesn't really matter. As the man himself said, get a life. Joaquin Phoenix has stated that this movie is Napoleon's story told through Ridley Scott's eyes, and I think that's really cool. Maybe don't use this movie as a reference if you're gonna like write an essay about Napoleon, but it was a good source of entertainment for me. I enjoyed this movie not knowing too much about Napoleon going in, and that's good enough for me. Overall, this is a movie that I generally enjoyed watching. There are elements of this movie that are very good. However, if I ever did rewatch it, I would probably set apart an entire afternoon and watch the 4-hour cut on Apple TV+. The theatrical cut was very dull and lifeless, apart from the epic action set pieces. And I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart. The movie truly delivers on the action. It is awesome. But everything else is really boring to me. At the very least, this movie made me really excited to see Gladiator 2. One thing that I was looking forward to seeing that I didn't get was that Napoleon's notoriously short height is not brought up in the film, apart from one interaction in Egypt played for laughs. Oh well, terrible movie. It's also interesting how Killers of the Flower Moon is a historical movie produced by Apple TV Plus, and Napoleon is a historical movie produced by Apple TV Plus. We're getting a lot of historical movies this year with Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, and there's the Ferrari movie coming out from Michael Mann. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this review. Thanks for watching. This is probably going to be my penultimate review of the year. I have one more planned, and I'm very excited for you guys to watch it. I won't spoil what it is, but I hope it's very good. Go have a nice day. What's left of it. Peace.